What's going on, guys? It's Tuesday at 7:01. Sorry, I was 1 minute late. I just realized I had an empty shelf behind me and decorated it. So I'm sorry it's been a long day, but hopefully everyone's doing all right, staying safe and all that stuff. But I actually was able to pick up books this week for the first time since probably early March, late February. I can't remember the last time I flipped through a bin or went to a shop. So I actually got a bunch of books in the last few days. So I actually been having a lot of fun collecting comics again. So I figured why not go ahead and fire up the old camera and share some of these pickups and talk about what I've been reading. So of course there's bad news. Chris Berry says the king is here. Of course we got the Cosmic King always in the chats, man. Nice to see you, Chris. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day today. Before I get into what I actually picked up, I guess I'll talk about what I've been reading digitally. Oh, we got Scott Evans in chat. How you doing, Scott? Oh, cool. You guys are actually loading up now. There we go. We got Scott Evans in the chat. Of course, Chris Barrett. He says tomorrow he's back on the hunt. Yeah, man. Hopefully you find something cool. We got Kavi Comic Books NYC, man. How you doing? I'm looking forward to hanging out with this guy at the end of the month. We may be reviewing some Batman TMNT with JP's Budget Collecting, Who Dat Comics and Movies. Of course, Kavi will be there too, but looking forward to that. I can't wait to reread that one. We got Ben Compton hanging out in the chat. So big thanks, guys, for turning up. I know this was kind of like spur of the moment last second. I was just, like I said, I've been at work since 4 a.m. this morning, and I really just felt like talking about comics instead of going to sleep. So, like I said, I'm going to talk about what I've been reading digitally. So, for some reason, I decided to pick up House of M. I read it on Marvel Unlimited. I think I don't know if it was Rob Worth's channel or somebody. They're talking about crossovers that influenced Modern Men last night. We talked about crossovers there as well, but somebody mentioned not knowing what House of M was, and I was just like, my memory is a little bit fuzzy, but I did read it when it originally came out, and I kind of remember that was like the first big event that kind of kicked off like this series of big events at Marvel. Of course, you had Avengers Disassembled with Avengers 500, which is where Bendis really hopped on from the Ultimate line to the main Marvel 616 line, and really etched his name in stone in terms of Marvel writing. But after that, you kind of had the New Avengers and an Astonishing X-Men break off into like the two big books Marvel had. And the big crossover they had was House of M, where basically it is pretty awesome, where Scarlet Witch, she snapped, killed half the Avengers team, including Hawkeye, Scott Lang, and a couple other characters, like Jack of Hearts, I think, got killed or something. Like he fell out of space or something. But anyway, it's Jack of Hearts, who cares? But anyway, Xavier and Magneto are trying to figure out what to do with Scarlet Witch. So they call in the X-Men, the Avengers, and they banter and argue and all that stuff. And Scarlet Witch, just to, make a long story short, she snaps. She gives everybody what they want, basically. So the X gene is now a celebrated gene instead of this gene that everybody is, they hate and all that stuff. So they now live in a world where people who have non-mutant based powers, they're the ones who are, segregated, and the people who have mutant powers are celebrated. Meanwhile, you have guys like Spider-Man and Wolverine. They basically get to live in fantasy land, basically. Scarlet Witch just gives them what they want. Like Peter wakes up next to Gwen Stacy at the end of issue 1, the beginning of issue 2. Wolverine wakes up next to Mystique, of all people, and she's just like, huh? But he has like his own really cool shield team. But nonetheless, like those two and Layla Miller, I would say, are the breakout characters of House of M. One of my favorite parts is where Spider-Man actually gets his memories back from Layla Miller, and he just wants to kill the whole Magneto family, basically, at that point for, what they did to his memories, teasing him with bringing back Gwen and that stuff. So I think that was like the highlight for me, because usually Spider-Man's like either cracking jokes or, he could be really funny or really serious, but he gets dark in this one. So it's not a territory they take Spider-Man too often, but yeah, I really like how well House of M went for 8 issues. So that's what I read digitally. That's like my biggest read of the week, probably, that I haven't talked about on other channels or podcasts and that stuff. Other than that, I've been reading through the new X-Men #1s as they've been hitting Marvel Unlimited. And I kind of see some of the criticisms people have. Like, I tried to muscle my way through Excalibur #1. And then before this, I was reading a little bit of Fallen Angels #1. Fallen Angels wasn't too bad. I just unfortunately had to get on a work conference call before I finished it. But yeah, I definitely see why people have kind of turned off of X-Men just a little bit after House of X Powers of 10. So hopefully, I'm going to read X-Men #2 soon. So hopefully it picks back up once I do that. But nonetheless, I had physical copy pickups. Before I go into that, I do want to get into these chats because we still do have some people hopping in here. We got Scott Evans said curbside pickup tomorrow for me. I think that's probably what I'm going to keep doing for a little bit. I know my local shop, they're doing appointments now where you can make, you can call and see if they have any appointment times because I don't know about a lot of your shops, but my shop personally around here, it's pretty close quarters. So they kind of have to limit it to like 3 or 4 people per hour, and then they sanitize the whole place before they let the next wave in. So yeah, that's kind of the way my shop is now. I don't know. And to be honest, I don't know if they feel that comfortable with all of us coming back and shopping yet. I have a feeling if they were that comfortable, they just opened the doors instead of the appointments. So like I said, small businesses, they want to welcome me in. That's great. But if they're not ready yet, hey, they're not ready yet. That's cool too. So definitely, hopefully everyone's just doing all right is all I know. We got PMC Poor Man's Comics says, what we talk about House of M. Yeah, actually, I just read House of M on a whim this week, so I felt like talking about it. PMC. Kavi says, I got 10, 11 issues into the Dawn of X titles and then got lazy/frustrated. No, absolutely. I could totally see why anybody would get frustrated trying to keep up with all this. I didn't even talk about X-Force. I read X-Force as well, and I guess spoilers. They kill Professor X at the end for some reason, and then it goes into Fallen Angels, and yeah, I don't buy that for a second. So Chris says, my biggest problem with post-Hoxpox X-Men is that the whole history is kind of ruined because nothing matters anymore. Yeah, I completely get that 100%. Like, that's why I said, like, I don't buy that, Prof X is going to stay dead for more than like 2 minutes. So, and then Kavi saying at least Fallen Angels ended though. LOL. Yeah, I still need to finish that read. So I'm curious to see how that one's going to end at least now. All right. So the physical copies. So these are the ones my shop was holding for me since the initial closure, basically. So none of these books are really like brand new. It's just books I wasn't able to pick up because they had to close their doors and I wasn't able to make it because I've been working 50 hours a week pretty much during this whole time. So I'll go ahead and get into, we'll start with Deceased Unkillables. So like I said, I think this book is older than I think. It could be new. I don't know. I just read it last week, so it was new to me. It's a fun read. If you like Tom Taylor stuff from the first wave of Deceased, I think the writing does hold up in these. Unfortunately, I got to say the art it's even more rough than the original Deceased. So I know, I was critical on the Deceased art in the first one, but I would almost take Trevor Hairsine back at this point. I can't remember Moster. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. I'm going to butcher it, but it's not great art. I'm sorry. It has its own little style, I guess you could say, but it just was not for me. But that being said, I did enjoy seeing the characters, like basically the villain team and the Red Hood, Jim Gordon team like have to merge together after there's a zombie attack on the island where the villains are at. So basically they lose Mirror Master right out the gate and Captain Cold, which obviously is not good. But then you kind of see something cool where they progress time a little bit and the villains are actually hanging out with the kids that Jim Gordon and Jason Todd have had to adopt during this. And now they're kind of teaching the kids and stuff. So you kind of see almost, my wrestling quote of the day, the face turn of the villains hanging out with the kids and, kind of trying to help out where they can. But unfortunately, Mirror Master is still Mirror Master, but he's also a zombie. And, Bane doesn't last long standing next to a mirror. So once Bane gets zombified, that's where this issue cuts off, and he goes and gets zombie allies to help fight. So not the best art, but honestly, I'm still enjoying this read. I don't know if I can say it's worth $5. I guess go support your local shops and pay them $5 for this. That's the way I kind of looked at it, but it's still fun. Like yeah. Next up, another book. $5. Okay, we're just gonna move on from that. TMNT Jenica, once again, $5. Well, I said I love me some TMNT, but sometimes like I've kind of noticed because I've just got back into the Ninja Turtles comic side with the City at War run. So I kind of noticed they do this a lot with the IDW stuff. Once they kind of hit this like stride in their mainline title, they almost always have a mini series going on every single time. It's like they want to have two main continuity Turtle books going at all times. So you got your mainline title, which we'll talk about this one in a second. It wasn't too bad. But then this one just follows Jenica's adventures in like the Mutant City part of it, basically, which she's also featured in this comic, but she also has a completely separate storyline in this one. To be completely honest, I could have just dealt with Jenica being contained into this one just fine. This one, like I said, not too bad. Honestly, cool cover, by the way. But the story, in my opinion, is kind of 0 for 2 so far. And I think it's going to run for at least another issue or two, depending on when IDW can get back on their feet. But I could skip this, but I want to keep supporting the Turtle books. But we'll see. I'll see if 3 can rein me in. It's just, I don't know. I'm just not completely sold on it so far. But that being said, 104, solid issue. They kind of jumped the shark in this one a little bit, in my opinion. They've kind of been building up the 4 Turtle brothers getting back together since the end of City at War. Obviously, spoilers if you haven't read it. Splinter gets killed at the end, so that kind of has this fracture within the family where, you know, they grieve Splinter, but then they kind of just, 3 of the 4 Turtles, they go live in kind of like that farm-style house you see in the original TMNT movie. Meanwhile, Raphael is taken up like a black bandana and is fighting crime by himself in New York. And Jenica's just trying to hold it together, basically. She's, you know, uniting the brothers when and where she can. She's actually helping out, you know, where she can in New York City after the mutant bomb went off. But yeah, this is the one where they actually just randomly get back together. Like, Donnie visits April. Jenica finds out. Raph's in an alley. She immediately hooks them back up together. And then they just like, hey, we're back together. Let's go get the other 2 brothers. And they literally, next page, go get the other 2 brothers. So very surprised that it only took 4 issues for them to come back together. Cool thing is they're opening their own dojo. They're going to, you know, teach these kids in New York City who don't really have a way right now, the ways of the ninja. So kind of looking forward to mentor Ninja Turtles now. So they're kind of like all assuming the role of Splinter, basically, which they've kind of been alluding to for a while, especially when Splinter took over the Foot Clan. And there were a lot of like rogue kids and the members. I mean, if you see the 1990 movie, it kind of is pretty much like that, where you have these kids and Shredder is just manipulating them, basically. And Splinter in this one is trying to point them the right way. Now there's no more Splinter, so they need the Turtles to kind of fill that void, especially since most of the kids have been turned into mutants now. So, like I said, my favorite comic on the shelves currently by far, TMNT. It's not just because I'm a Turtle mark. I legitimately think this is a great book. Before I keep going, let's get into the chat. Scott Evans says, love Jenica, sad for the break at 105 with The Last Ronin coming. Yeah, looking for The Last Ronin. I cannot wait. Hopefully we get Last Ronin somehow. Like I said, I know everyone's getting back on their feet right now. I very much hope we can get Last Ronin this summer because the pitch for this sounds amazing. It's something they've had planned for decades. They're just now getting it published. So sounds like a lot of cool things are about to happen for the Turtles. Chris Barrett says the Von Erichs are returning. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the Von Erich family just got back together. We got Prowler671. How's it going? Prowler says, long time no see. Good to catch your live stream. Well, thanks for hopping in, man. Kavi says, I think I'm 2 issues behind X-Men, but we'll catch up. Yeah, like I said, I'm getting ready to read issue 2 probably right after this. So hopefully they can rein it in a little bit. Got 2 more books, and then I'll show you my antique shop pickups. Next one is Angel and Spike, number 10. And I'll be kind of honest. I mean, I've been a little sour on the Buffy book since the Hellmouth crossover. Just something about that crossover. It just didn't do it for me. I don't know really how to explain it. I really like the first run of Buffy and Angel, but it seems like they did a lot of rushing, especially on the Angel side. Like all of a sudden now his team of Gunn and Fred are there, but we have no Wesley Wyndham-Pryce in either book, unless I just missed them. I don't know. And then somehow Spike's on the team now. But I did want to take this book out of the bag because it does have this really, really cool. It might be the coolest splash panel I've ever seen in an Angel comic. And you get Gleb Melnikov is the artist. So I haven't really heard of him outside the Angel book, but he actually does some pretty solid work. Took a little while for his art to grow on me, but I think it actually has. Oh, yeah, and you get Kate Lockley, too. She's a Season 1 Angel character, if you guys are keeping track of the show and interested in the comic. But I just like when, Kate doesn't know the Angel's a vampire, so like this big reveal that he's, this monster demon vampire comes out, and Kate's like, "What are you?" And he just goes, "I'm the good guy." So I thought that was like one of the coolest splash panels I've definitely ever seen in an Angel comic. So definitely shout out for Melnikov. Oh, that was awesome. So pretty cool. Definitely probably the best issue of this book I've read so far. I hope they get Wes on the team since they have everybody else from the TV show on the team now, even Spike for some reason. So I don't know how I feel about that. I kind of like, my Spike in Sunnydale, basically. He was all right in that last season of Angel, but he felt like, all the other actors were good with, finishing the roles in the series finale of Buffy, but Marsters was like, "Hey, I'll still work." I'm like, okay, just go to the Angel set and, go clock in, I guess. So, yeah, somehow he's, like I said, I don't know how I feel about that yet. We'll see. And then the last book, I finally finished Curse of the White Knight. It felt like forever waiting for this one. Of all those books over there, this is the one I kind of wanted to read the most during the COVID-19 break. I read issue 7, thought it was awesome, and then I was unable to pick up my issue 8 before my store shut itself down due to local restrictions. But yeah, I was thrilled to go ahead and pick up the copy of this. You get a pretty cool ending here where, Bruce Wayne ousted his identity in the last issue. So you just have this knockout, drag-out brawl between him and Azrael where he's basically like, "I can't let you live, Azrael. I'm going to kill you." And luckily, Dick Grayson comes to the rescue, kind of gives him the pep talk like, "Hey, you're basically my dad. Like, you're Batman. You can't kill Azrael." And you get to see these emotional scenes between Dick Grayson. And, of course, Babs is there, too. And she's had a very rough time of it during Curse of the White Knight. And one thing, I think the coolest thing this book does, and Kabi, I know you read it in the chat. Maybe you could agree or disagree with me. I think the coolest thing this book does, it actually allows characters, like Sean Gordon Murphy will take characters and he'll do like these character twists where it wouldn't work in main continuity, but it works here. For instance, the whole kind of almost like love story between Bruce Wayne and Harley Quinn, if that happened in the mainline title, people would just go crazy and hate it. It happens here, and he builds it up over the course of like basically the end of regular White Knight into this, and he actually kind of makes it work in this toward the end where, Batman basically saved Harley Quinn's soul. So she's basically a good guy now. And at the end of this, Harley's basically trying to save Bruce at the very end when he's kind of turned himself in because, he's been the vigilante Batman this whole time. So for the first time, and I didn't think I would buy into it, but toward the end of this issue, I actually kind of did. I actually kind of bought into the fact that this Bruce Wayne could almost have a life with a single mother Harley Quinn toward the end of this. And I think that is the ultimate compliment, in my opinion, for Sean Murphy. So didn't think he could follow up White Knight, but I think he actually did it. So I read all 8 issues finally, and he made a solid second part of his run. So I'm assuming, from what I've heard, he's going to get more White Knight books. There's going to be like a whole White Knight universe of books now. So looking forward to seeing what comes next from Sean Murphy. I kind of said previously that I was kind of hoping they'd eventually just shoehorn him into the main Batman continuity, just as kind of like, a big reward for making this good universe. Like, can't we just make the regular universe good too? But, honestly, he's made the White Knight universe so compelling now that I do want to read more of it, kind of like the Deceased universe now. Now he's got to get that A continuity in place. So, all right. So that was pretty much everything I read last week that I haven't talked about anywhere else. But I have talked about Read Somewhere Else, and that's Modern Men. And who's on Modern Men? Comic Man Andy. He's in the chat. What's going on, Andy? nice to see you. We got a chance to hang out last night doing Modern Men. Read Once in Future, so I left the link down below if you guys missed that. We had a lot of fun reading that, talking event books and all that good stuff. So always, as usual, big shout to Andy. I think he's got a big match tonight on he's got some trivia to study up for, from what I've been told. So I think it's Bruce Moreau's channel. I just discovered his channel through Andy, actually, and he's been doing some really killer trivia tournament stuff. So go check out Bruce Moreau as well and root on Andy. But he's up against two brothers, and those guys are great too. So yeah, it'll be fun. We got Midwest Comic Man. How's it going, Paul? Nice to see you in the chat today. Hopefully, Paul, you and your family are doing quite well. I hope. I was actually kind of thinking about all y'all the other day. I was just like, man, I haven't heard from Paul for a minute. Hopefully he's doing all right. So nice to see Paul in the chat. But we'll go ahead. And then, yeah, Andy says, comic quarantine madness. And then Chris Barrett says, make sure you vote for Carson. He's tied with Drew over at the Comic Core. I'll have to look up that poll. I had no idea that people were still even voting. I thought Drew was winning in a landslide. So, yeah, there's that. All right. So, my city hasn't necessarily completely opened up yet, but the city an hour away from me kind of has, and that's where I get my silver and bronze age like $2 and $3 books. So I called them. I'm like, hey, are you guys open? They're like, yeah, please come into our doors. We're bored. We need people to come and shop. So the people at these stores were so happy to let the customers in. So I almost felt like obliged, and I wanted to show them some support. So I drove an hour away to go antique shopping, basically. Sue me. It's been a long 3 months, I guess. But nonetheless, I wanted to show this vendor some support. I've been buying a lot of books off of him for the last year and a half, 2 years, since I discovered his antique booths. So he must have been happy to reopen too, because he completely refilled everything. Like every book my concern was, I think I shopped the guy's stuff at the very beginning of March. The closure happened like right after that. So I was kind of concerned, like I'd probably go in and be the same books. That wasn't the case at all. So this whole stack here, these are all the $2 books I got from his one store. And then I got another stack after that. So we'll go ahead and start with the $2 books. So I haven't read this series yet, but I really want to. So every time I see the single issues, I guess I may as well just see if I can put together most of this run, even though those last 2 issues are pricey. So I found a copy of Miracle Man issue 16 for $2. So Miracle Man, you don't see them at all. The Eclipse comic stuff, they're not in bins. So this one was just laying on top of one of the $2 bins. Like, yeah, screw it, I'll get it. Why not? So hey, Alan Moore, you can't go wrong. Here's another one that's just always a good solid buy for $2 or less. Justice League #1. So like, I don't know if this is going to turn into like the Jim Lee X-Men #1 of our current generation, I guess, or it's just going to creep up and $1 and $2 bins. But you know me, I'm a DC fan, so this is a pretty big moment in DC history. And actually, come to think of it, I think I have the 4th printing of this, the David Finch variant of this. This may actually technically be my first copy of this A cover. They had 2 of them there. I just picked up one, but figure for $2, why wouldn't I pick up the first official New 52 comic? So I thought that was easily a nice $2 grab. Now here's a variant cover you don't see every day. Here's Wolverine issue number 27. It's actually a B cover. This is when Joe Quesada did a couple B covers for the Mark Millar Wolverine run. So this is actually pretty cool. John Romita Jr. Wolverine run, and one of my favorite Joe Quesada covers to boot. I think I actually have a copy of this or 2 signed by Joe Quesada, but hey, I never thought I'd see this one for $2. I don't want to call it a ghost book, but it's a pretty nice book that I don't think I've ever seen shown on anyone else's channel for that matter. So I really like this book, always have. Here's another random one. I got Secret Wars #1. And it's actually the GameStop exclusive. So I believe these are the ones like you had to like have the GameStop point system and go to their awful website to redeem the points. Like I actually have the Star Wars books from there. But yeah, it's a Greg Horn variant. He did most of this series of variants. I think he did the Marvel Star Wars stuff like Star Wars and Darth Vader. And then he did stuff like Secret Wars. So anytime I can find these GameStop ones for like $2 instead of having to deal with GameStop and their awful point system website, I'll pay $2 all day. So that was a nice grab. If you guys like Elvira, we got some Elvira's House of Mystery, issue number 9. Thought that was a really awesome cover. Don't see Elvira too often in the bins either, so thought that was cool. So I picked that up. Let's see, we got the Art Chemist in the chat. What's going on, Arsenio? Nice to see you out today. Here is that Neil Adams correction cover, I guess. So Neil Adams once again doing Superman breaking the chains, except he doesn't draw the leg that's too long on this one. So I've heard that of the two covers, Neil Adams prefers this one over the other one just because of that weird leg that's caddy cornered and too long so they could fit the text at the bottom. So don't think I had this one in the collection. I definitely have. I think it's Superman 233. Love that cover, of course. So why wouldn't I get this cover for $2? Wizard 1/2. I am a sucker for these Wizard 1/2s. You guys know me at this point. I collected as many of these things as possible when I was a kid. They were $10 a pop to get mailed to your door. Back in the day, you had to get the Wizard magazine. You had to cut the thing out of the Wizard magazine, mail it off, and then 6 months later, you get the 1/2 that cost you $10. So, hey, to pay $2 and get the certificate of authenticity, that's worth it to me all day. And hey, once again, Joe Quesada. So, excellent cover. Love the Wizard stuff. I'd probably get about any Wizard 1/2 at this point. Here's another Elvira. This is a House of Mystery. This time, issue number 5. Looking good as usual. So absolutely awesome. I'd like to get the whole run of these. That'd be a lot of fun to collect. But yeah, Elvira. I was missing this Daredevil out of my Daredevil run. This is issue 194. So anytime I can start to fill up these early or late 100, early 200 issues, I got a nice run going on that Daredevil run right now. Speaking of nice runs I'm putting together, I'm starting to get a lot of late run G.I. Joe in the collection, between the 110s and the 130s. I was missing this one, I believe, 121. Look at that newsstand. So had to give you guys one tonight. So there you go. So 121. So maybe working my way to that the final issue eventually, but that's a whole different ball game, obviously. But yeah, anytime I can get these post 100 GI Joe issues, I'm pretty happy with the purchase, as long as it's $2 and under, of course. Got Action Comics 337. So a 12-center for $2. Actually, for $2, I would say this is in pretty nice condition. I was actually pretty surprised. I'm pretty much on the fence on collecting older Superman. I don't really have a good reason why. I guess I just went toward Batman more, but I'm pretty close to just start collecting a run of this older Action Comics as Superman because I keep seeing the 12 centers in the bins. I just haven't pulled the trigger, but I think this $2 one may be the push over the edge finally. So we'll see if I have a haul a month or two from now where it's just all 12-cent Action Comics. So yeah, $2. Had to get that. I was missing this one out of my Jim Lee Claremont X-Men run, issue 274. Beautiful cover with Rogue and Magneto back there and Nick Fury blowing smoke rings with his big-ass gun. Gotta love it. So I don't know why I hadn't had that one in the collection yet, but I decided to go ahead and pick that up. Maybe this one would be a good pickup recently as well. I think I was missing it out of my Justice League run. Issue 41, Darkseid War Part 1. I'm guessing a lot of people are going to be overpaying for this when the Three Jokers inevitably hits, because I think this is the one where he gets the Metron chair, and he's like, 3 Jokers, oh my God. Or maybe it's the second issue, but nonetheless, this is what starts that whole storyline. So I figure for $2, I may as well just go ahead and swipe this up before I can't find it for $2, because I do like this run, actually. It's a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, I actually found an Amalgam comic. I haven't seen these for a minute. This is one of the ones I missed out on as a kid. So I had the whole first run of Amalgam stuff, but the second wave I wasn't too into just because the 4-issue miniseries they had, I think it was called DC Marvel All Access with that one character that no one ever remembers or likes. But I was kind of sour on comics at the time, but I did miss out on Lobo the Duck back in the day. But luckily I found this copy yesterday for $2. So finally got a copy of Lobo the Duck. Very happy with that. And then my last $2 pickup, which once again, pretty impressed with the condition on this. Hopefully I don't open up, it just falls apart, which I don't think it will. I got House of Mystery 204 for $2. So anytime I can get these 20, 12-cent horror comics for $5 or less. I've just been picking them up basically recently because they're all just beautiful art in them, cool stories. So can't go wrong for $2. And of course, Art Chemist, he loves them, that Elvira. Who doesn't? Midwest Comment says we come out of the bunker every now and then, staying as hidden as possible. Yeah, I don't blame you, man. And Chris Barrett, he's still hunting for some ghosts. All right, so the final part of my haul. And Prowler likes the House of Mystery. It just hadn't popped up on the one side yet. So I see a Prowler. All right, so the other shop is usually his like more pricey books. So usually the books over at the other shop start at $3. But in my opinion, they're typically nicer. They're older, typically go late silver, early bronze age, where most of his $2 books are mostly moderns with bronze mixed in and that stuff, and the very rare silver age like that Action Comics. But yeah, most of these, this is where I get like my cheap silver age stuff when I can get my hands on it. But a lot of this stuff also comes from bronze, obviously. But I was shocked that he had Teen Titans in his bins finally. I've been wanting to collect this early Teen Titans run for a long time. It's just kind of one of those runs that has always eluded me. So when I got to the end of what I was looking at and actually saw a nice tiny little run of Teen Titans, I almost kind of left the store buying nothing, and then I saw these. I'm like, all right, now I can start to put together a little bit of a pile. So I got Teen Titans issue number 12 right there. So happy with that. Some great Nick Cardy goodness on issue number 14. Even though this is not the greatest Cappy in the world, still presents really well on that nice miler, doesn't it? So Requiem for a Titan. Yeah, couldn't be happier with that. And then the other one he had, nice. I was just ecstatic to see any Titans at all. Issue number 15. So once again, cool stuff there. It's actually the same guy I bought my Teen Titans issue number 1 from. It's all beat up, but low grade, something, no grade, right? We're going back to the horror genre. We got the Witching Hour number 6. Oh yeah, and I paid $3 for most of these too. I got a couple 4s and a couple 5s in there, but like I said, 15-cent DC horror. I'll buy that all day. Good stuff there. This is usually a little bit later on my DC horror that I would buy, but I thought this cover was really cool. I got issue 152 of House of Secrets. It's 35 center, but I just thought that was a very clean copy. It looked really awesome, so couldn't pass that up. Got some early Bronze Age Aquaman. I don't know why. Every time I see Aquaman at this guy's booth, it always just draws me in. So I end up getting an Aquaman book or two. So it's one of those runs now. I need to kind of put together a list so I don't double buy stuff. But they always just had some great art in these older Aquamans. So I've decided just to start picking up if they're like $3 or $4 or less. So thought that was pretty cool. Chris Barrett says he's still hunting for the first Black Manta. Yeah, I actually got my copy like about a year ago, I think. Yeah, I got like more or less a stealth buy on eBay. It's one of those times you just throw an offer down that's kind of ridiculous and the person actually accepts it. So yeah, it's like up box 4, I think. I just reorganized it the other day. Like I said, Action Comics, it's drawing me in. I had to get this issue 353. It reminded me of the All-Star Superman, where they're fighting over the honor of Lois Lane once she becomes Superwoman in issue 3, and hijinks ensue. So I had to get this Battle of the Gods issue because I saw that. It reminded me of All-Star Superman. I probably already had this issue, but I figured I'm going to go ahead and just buy his Green Lantern stuff. So I have to bring in more, hopefully. So can't have enough Green Lantern, Bronze, Silver Age in the collection. So I have a copy of 75. I believe this is the one of the last Gil Kane issues before, of course, we got Neil Adams on that, the infamous issue 76. But yeah, it was like $3. So I'm like, I'm not going to pass up this era of Green Lantern for $3. Another House of Mystery 20 center issue 223. Once again, I mean, for $3, I could not beat that condition. So I had to have it. Thought that was awesome. Going back to old Neil Adams, we got Strange Adventures 214. I think this one was one of the $4 ones. So I was very happy to get that nonetheless. So $4, Silver Age Adams, pay that all day. And I had two $5 books. So once again, Gil Kane did not have this in the Silver Age run. So I'm slowly filling up these like mid 40s, 50s, and 60s in my Green Lantern, volume 2 run, I guess you could call it. Obviously, I like to have the very early stuff, but I just hadn't found the right books yet for my collection and the right prices. But I keep finding this stuff for like $3 to $5, so I'll keep chipping away at those mid ones. So like probably the next big Green Lantern book I need is First Guy Gardner, which I think was at issue 54. I can't remember right this second, but it's right around this part. I still need that book, and then maybe I'll start going back to the teens and working my way to First Tomar Ray, First Sinestro, and all that stuff. So that'd be a lot of fun to do. But yeah, just hadn't found the right price on that book. Yeah, I almost pulled the trigger once, but I didn't. And then the last one, usually the guy sorts like the Three Forces stuff he has is Marvel, and none of the Marvel stuff is really doing it for me. And then like I saw this one, I'm like, for $5, I may as well just go ahead and get this. And it's Avengers 92. Pretty solid condition on this 92. It's got a little bit of chipping there at the end, a little bit of a dog ear up top. But other than that, it presents really well for an Avengers under issue 100. So usually anymore, if I see like a Daredevil in good condition or a Fantastic Four or an Avengers under issue 100, I'm probably just going to go and pick it up for the right price. I collect a little bit of Captain America too, but I don't go too crazy into like Cap and Iron Man for whatever reason. I had a good Iron Man run at one point, but I just sold it because I didn't have room for it at the time. So yeah, this is pretty much the last book I got a chance to pick up. So nothing too big, major, crazy, but just a lot of solid, early Bronze Age run filler for $2 or $3. You can't beat that in my opinion. So that's my pickups for this week. It's just nice to be able to say I had pickups this week because I haven't had a chance to get anything since the beginning of March. So bad news is I got everything sorted. Now I got to sort this into the sorted stuff. So I got to get these boxes down again. But hey, that's the art of comic collecting, I guess. Chris Barrett says the earliest Green Lantern he has is issue 14. I think I have that same issue. Maybe it's 60. The First Star Sapphire is the earliest one I have. I think it's 16. So you might have me beat by one on that. And look, we got my first subscriber ever, Fish Tropics, hanging out in the chat. What's going on, man? Nice to see Fish here at the end of the show. But like I said, it is not officially the end of the show. I'm out of stuff to show. So I guess a couple plugs. Actually, first, Chris Barrett says, so this isn't where I watch the Owen Hart Dark Side. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be, the big season finale of Dark Side of the Rings tonight. Been a phenomenal show since it's came back on and all that stuff. But yeah, tonight's going to hit the feels because it's the Owen Hart episode. So they start with Benoit. They're finishing off with Owen Hart. It's going to be a hard one to sit through, I'm sure. So Owen Hart tonight on Dark Side of the Ring. Can't wait for that. We got Chad R. Hey, how you doing, Chad? He says, doing Zoom, but wanted to swing by. So yeah, if you guys had a chance, go to heroinitiative.org/merchandise. You might see like me or Chad or somebody hosting your Zoom meeting if you buy into any of those creator Q&As. You never know who's going to be there. It could be even the great legend. You never know. So in the links below, I left the links to yesterday's Modern Men. If you guys hadn't had a chance to catch that, we had a lot of fun last night talking event books, talking about Once and Future, my first chance to read that. Among pretty much the rest of the panel, except for Drew, of course, he reads everything all the time. So yeah, we got a chance to do that. And Comics of the Atom, we just finished our first major arc of the series. We got through Astonishing X-Men. We just recorded the episode, I believe, yesterday. Yeah, time flies, huh? We recorded it yesterday. Believe you already got it up too. So the episodes are getting out a lot faster, thanks to whatever iTunes algorithms going on. So me and my friend Mike got a chance to go through that. So if you guys are bored, doing some work around the house, traveling, go ahead and download that to your iTunes, Stitcher. It's Mike pretty much just threw it on any platform you could find. So yeah, whatever floats your boat, download it, see what you think, and let me know. I'd appreciate it. And then just leave a 5-star to improve the algorithm. Maybe we'll get a little bit more finds out there, basically. So other than that, big thanks, guys, for joining. We still got Comic Man Andy, Fish Tropic, Chris Barrett, of course, my man Chad from the Comic Core, Prowler 671, Art Chemist, Comic Man Andy, Midwest Comic Man, Kavi, Comic Books NYC, and a whole bevy of others. Thank you guys so much for hopping in here on short notice. Maybe I'll catch you next week. You never know what I'm going to pick up here. So until next time, guys, have a good one.